We're back on the topic of difficulty for today's critical thought. Limbus seems to have a chapter-by-chapter problem when it comes to balancing difficulty between the normal and hardcore players. And in the past, we've talked about the challenge of difficulty design. But for today, we're going to be talking about the myth of difficulty. So at this moment, Limbus just finished up its kind of chapter 6 of content. 3 parts of very amazing highs and depressing storylines. It also can be very depressing if you're a new player, as the kind of third and final section of it is quite difficult if you're not used to the game. And Limbus definitely has an issue when it comes to explaining to the player why something is not working. And I'm debating if I want to do like a new player's guide for it. If you'd like to see one of those, let me know in the comments down below. But with Limbus as a gacha game, and we'll talk more about this in the coming minutes, a lot of your progression is also going to be tied to gacha, to the unknown, to chaos. And that throws an additional wrinkle when it comes to defining progression and where you expect the player to be at in any given moment. So after the third part was released, Project Moon announced that they're going to be nerfing some of the aspects of it. You have the hardcore fans complaining. You have newcomers saying, okay, finally, great, and all that. And again, it brings up this debate that always happens whenever we see challenging games receive nerfs or content being adjusted. That there's going to be this group that wants that challenge. That they don't find it too bad. What's the problem? We want that kind of extra spikiness. And before anyone says anything, I did finish the whole chapter before the nerfs happened, got through the whole thing because I'm just perfect in everything that I do. But for a lot of people, they don't have that same kind of drive. And it gets at this kind of problem when it comes to defining difficulty and the myth of it. That a lot of people, or at least a lot of the people who are watching this, I know you really like challenge. Again, if you've played a first-person shooter, an action game, a Souls-like, a roguelike, a like, whatever, you probably want to be challenged by your game. You want to get through it at the highest possible levels. You want to see just how far you can go at it. And it has been the major driver for the Souls-like genre and a lot of the roguelikes. But when we had a strategy, a design cast, I think it was like last year or the year before that, we came to this conclusion that a lot of people don't like difficulty. And again, when we say a lot of people, we're not talking about most of you watching this right now. We're talking about the general consumer. A lot of people don't want to bang their heads against a wall to hopefully get that perfect build or that perfect weapon. Or maybe they just get lucky 1 out of 15 times and they can actually move forward. People are there to experience what the core gameplay loop of your title is. Platforming, shooting, swimming, singing, dancing, racing, strategy, rogueliking, deck building, whatever. They're not here to play your game on the highest difficulty with every difficulty modifier jacked up to the extreme. They're not going to play Slay the Spire on Ascension level, what is it, like 20 that maxed out at? Or full heat gauge on Hades? They're going to play the game. They'll see the ending, maybe they'll go to see what like the true ending is, and then they're done. They don't care about a high score, they don't care to get the achievement for all the challenges done, they just are there to experience the game, and then they're out. And this again gets back at this problem when it comes to defining difficulty in games. And we're not talking about difficulty design in today's video, that's many other topics to get to. But with Limbus again, and you'll hear this from every single person whenever there's a discussion about difficulty in a game. So you have people on the forum saying, it's easy. I managed to beat it with, identity level 1, or, the base IDs, level 35, 40. It was a grueling challenge. It may have taken me a long time, but I did it. So what's the problem with you? And the second someone says either A, they beat it using the base, stock characters, or B, that took several hours, they have completely lost the argument. And you see, this again gets at the myth of difficulty. And on the previous critical thought, I took shots at roguelike strategy and adventure game fans. It's time to take a huge shot at the Souls-like fans, and I don't need to get John for this, because I'm fine saying this on my own. So to all the people who love Elden Ring, Sekiro, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Lies of P, and all those games, nobody cares that you beat the game. Nobody cares that you beat the game on Soul Level 1. Nobody cares that you beat the game using the starting weapons. Nobody cares you beat the game without using range weapons, or you beat the game without using melee weapons, or summons. You beat the game blindfolded, you beat the game using smoke signals, you beat the game using a dance pad, drum kit, and electric guitar. Nobody cares that you beat the game in under 2 hours. Nobody cares that you glitched the game and you finish it in under 5 minutes. That you beat every boss and encounter hitless. That you did all that while people were hitting you with baseball bats every 5 seconds. What people care about is how they are going to win the game. And if they don't see a way to beat it, they're going to leave frustrated. And when we talk about difficulty settings, difficulty modifiers, and all that, this is why when we talk about good difficulty design, even though I said I wasn't going to do it, it still is very important to bring up here. There's 2 ways you want to kind of focus. The first is defining a very baseline experience that you can then tweak either easier or harder. So this is what we talk about with Souls-like games, that they are designed around a single difficulty, and players can make that easier or harder depending on what builds and weapons they use. The other way is to build content or build elements that purposely make the game easier or harder. Again, this is where we get to difficulty settings, or something we see from a lot of the Nintendo games, where the base path is very, very easy, or at least easy by common standards. Then you go off the base path, and then it gets more challenging. This is where the difficulty of the game lies. And you see, people who play stuff at challenging levels, they don't care about extrinsic rewards. You can throw trophies and stars and additional resources and currencies and all that. They don't care. They're there for the challenge. One of the more repeated requests or suggestions to Project Moon is to just have a hard mode. And that is a really great one. Because again, when you're trying to build stuff that's challenging, you still need to cast a wide net with your base content, with what your core gameplay loop is. There are people who want to see and experience a story of Limbus Company, because they want to see and experience a story of any RPG, any story-driven title. They're not going to be building every single perfect team. They're not going to be getting every 3-star or another gacha game, 6-star, 5 stars, whatever. They just want to see the story. And that group needs to be catered to just as much as the people who have every single 3-star or 6-star. They have everything fully ranked up. They do all the extreme challenges, all the extreme bonus, optional, extra hard stuff. They need stuff as well. And you can't do it both with just one setting. It doesn't work like that. You need to make accommodations for both. So there's 2 good examples of this that I want to bring up. The first is from Ultrakill. Now, Ultrakill has kind of 3 groupings of difficulties. A 4th one that's going to be super extra hard coming in the future at the time I'm recording this. So 3 groupings are easy, normal, and hard. As you go up the groupings, enemies become more aggressive, they get more attack patterns, they become harder to fight, but their stats do not change. When you play Ultrakill on the easy grouping, for every one of you watching this right now, it is beyond easy. Like, the enemies are incredibly slow, bullets move like this. And for anyone who's had any experience with an FPS over the past 10 years, you don't even have to play them on hard mode, just any experience running and shooting, you can be Ultrakill on the easy setting. Now, for someone like me, this is the complete antithesis of what I want. I would never play Ultrakill on the easy mode because that's not why I'm here. But you see, that's the point. Easy mode Ultrakill is not for me. It's for the people who want to play the game, but don't want to get bashed against a wall or get punched by Sisyphus Prime 75,000 times. And again, Ultrakill has lots of extreme challenges for the people who want to see that, who want to push themselves forward. Is every single player who goes into Ultrakill going to see Sisyphus Prime and do P2? No. Absolutely not. I would imagine maybe when the game's released, probably fewer than 30% of the player base will actually beat Sisyphus Prime. But the challenge is still there. The rewards and the hook of doing something that challenging are there, and that's what gets people motivated. If you just make that as a requirement, then you're going to force a lot of people who don't want that or who can't play that into that content, and they're going to hate that game. And again, we're talking about defining what is the general path through your game and what is the optional path. Now, another good example of this, and from a gacha game, is Arknights. So what they do is that you can play kind of the basic content or the story-driven content or side story content on normal mode. Normal mode is, well, standard. They do not require 5 or 6 star operators. You don't even need to fully level them up. If you have a team that kind of meets demands of that level, you will beat the story content and watch those incredibly long cutscenes of people standing and lots of text scrolling along the bottom of the screen for many minutes. If you want more challenges, you can go to the bonus objective that makes it harder. And then they have the EX missions, which make things very hard, and then the bonus on top of the EX. Then there's, of course, all the content that's designed around late game play, integrated strategies, Armageddon. I keep confusing Armageddon and Apocalypse. I'm sure the fans will correct me down below. They're kind of bonus, kind of like mini content they sometimes release. This is the stuff that you generally want good 5 and 6 star operators to do. And again, there's going to be someone down below who's going to say, well, I beat all the hardest of using nothing but 3-star operators. And again, I have to go back to what I said earlier. Nobody cares. We're talking about general play here, the general consumer, the people who are going to be making up the bulk of the interest and the sales of your game. This is a group you need to give them content that they can enjoy. There's going to be people who play Arknights who, as long as they 1-star every single map, that's enough for them. They're good, they got through it, cut, print, we're going on the next. Just as there's going to be people who are going to be going for every single medal and every single 3 and 4-star and get their accounts to fully max. And that's what Arknights does really well. And even when they evolve into Chapter 10 and beyond, they now just have a standard difficulty. So you have easy, normal, and hard for every map. Easy is laughably easy, normal is the standard difficulty that we talked about, and hard kind of rolls in the bonus challenge or the bonus objective from earlier. Is everyone going to beat this game on hard difficulty or every map? No. But it's there. It's there for someone who wants it, just as normal and easy are there for someone who wants that experience. And that, again, is what you want. Now, for the final point of today's video, I want to talk about the challenge. And to bring this back to Limbus Company, when we talk about randomized progression. So this is what we see in gacha games, RPG games, any game where there is RNG to what the player is going to have access to at any given time. You need to cast a very wide net in terms of balancing in the standard experience when you can't guarantee what the player has in terms of skills, weapons, gears, legendaries, whatever. So a good example of this is from Card Hunter. This was a game that was really popular back in like the early 2010s. A kind of tactical RPG where different equipment you wear gives you different cards, better gear, better cards, and all that. So for a lot of my friends who played the game, they enjoyed it. No complaints from them. I never finished the game, and I can tell you exactly why. There's a point in the main campaign that whoever's your primary character or your first class you build, you get a free legendary gear that's associated to that class. This legendary, of course, comes with really great cards that are going to make your deck pop, make you all exciting and strategizing and all that. Well, what happened to me is I got a dud legendary. I got one for my character that does not fit any other gear I'm using, does not fit my build at all, and is, well, worthless. Based on what happens to me when I play a lot of ARPGs. I get the super legendary ice weapon when I'm building a earth build or a fire build. So what ended up happening was after you get that event when you get the legendary, the game's difficulty spikes. The idea is that now you're supposed to use that legendary in order to compensate for those increased enemies. Well, if I can't use a legendary, all I get is a massive difficulty spike. And I couldn't just re-roll and get started with a new character, because it's tied to the account progress. So I would have to basically delete my entire account and restart all over again to maybe get another legendary, or spend hours grinding to get enough money and resources to maybe get one that works. And I just stopped playing. And I know that I was the outlier there, because all my friends never had that problem. They got really good legendaries. They had stuff that helped them work and made the game easier, and they kept going. But again, that is the nature of RNG. Just like how when Arknights fans tried to argue with me that, no, you can't go to like 80, 90 pools and not get a 6-star. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, who would have that bad enough of RNG, right? But like we've said, when you're dealing with any time that you're expecting a random where you don't know what the player's going to have access to at any given moment, you need to make your bounds far wider than you would otherwise. When we talk about games like Doom Eternal, Ultrakill, and reflex-driven titles, the designers know at any given moment what you have access to. They know what weapons you have. They have a general idea what your skill level is. If you're doing like a P level in Ultrakill, you probably know how the mechanics work. Just how if you're going to master level in Doom Eternal, the developers expect you've played the game once or twice. But if you're talking about like a gacha game or any kind of RPG where, hey, the player can get 15 different random weapons, how we balance encounters around that? Well, you should not balance your stuff around every single player having every single great character or great legendary in your game. Because yes, there'll be people who do have that, or the people who will enjoy that challenge of beating your entire game on Soul Level 1 using the most common weapons, and again, playing it blindfolded the whole time. That's not your general consumer. And it's why you have to understand, at the end of the day, most people are not playing a game to be stuck for 2 to 5 hours, or to not understand why their character is just not winning. And it's also why, as a point of good GUI and UI UX design, you should have ways to explain to the player, why is this not working? Maybe you should level someone up. Maybe you forgot to equip a really good weapon. Maybe you miss the weaknesses and strengths of that character. And if you don't explain this to people, they're going to end up getting frustrated, and they're going to tune out of your game. So to wrap things up for today, difficulty and challenge do entice a certain percentage of your player base, but not the majority of the people who will play a game, unless you only and explicitly market it towards that hardcore crowd, like Kaizo games or super difficult 2-who bullet hells and so on. And while they will enjoy that, if you think that a super difficult bullet hell game is going to get the same amount of buzz as Elatro, Fortnite, Slay the Spire, Hades, or any other game that has achieved kind of pop culture success over the last 5 to 7 years, they're not. And as I said in the previous video about stuck genres, this is how genres get very stuck in their ways, when they only cater to the person who has 10,000 hours or more in this genre. That they don't think about someone who's never played it before. Or again, they only care about the people who beat this game when it could only be 10% or less of the actual audience. And like I said, I've studied churn rates of a lot of games. If your game is churning 70% of the player base before they even beat boss 1, or get upgrade 1, or even beat level 1, then it does not matter how much your hardcore fans are loving your game or saying they want more challenge. Your game has some problems to it. So, for those of you watching, can you think of good examples of difficulty design? And for yourself, do you love the masochistic challenges, or do you prefer things to be a little bit lighter? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.